to look at issues that affect all of us, Christians all over. And today we're talking about children with special needs. And that's the reason why we have Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson. She will be with us virtually, but Mrs. Rosemond Achampong is here with us. She would contribute immensely towards the discussion. I'll tell you why she would contribute immensely to what we're going to discuss tonight. And so, once again, you are welcome. Whether you are on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, we are all here with you. At a point in time, I would ask if you have a question or comment, and then we'll let you mention them via WhatsApp as well. We'll give you the phone, the WhatsApp number to get you the questions or comments through to us. So I think, Dr. Marilyn, you are welcome to, let's talk about on the platform that Trinity United Church has put together. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And Mrs. Rosemond Achampong, you're also highly welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'll first go to Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson. When we talk about children with special needs, how would you, put it for all of us lay people to understand?
Okay. So, children with special needs or are children who need special care. Maybe let me put it that way. Simple. Children with special needs are children who need special care or extra care or specific care that we wouldn't usually give to another child. This can occur due to different things. But broadly speaking, we have children whose development are different or are atypical. I'll be using a lot of this word atypical. So when I say atypical, it means that everywhere, all over the world, we have studied the way children grow up and the way they develop. And we have an idea of what they're supposed to do at every stage of their lives. But there are some children who will not do it. They will not do it maybe at the time they're supposed to do it, or they will do it differently. So we'll say that these children have atypical development. So broadly speaking, any child whose development is atypical, and because of that, they need some special care or extra care to be able to help them to function the way they're supposed to be to function. We'll say that a child has special needs.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is why I'll bring Mrs. Rosemond Achampong. You live with a child with special needs. What Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson said, does that really capture the situation in which your child is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my son has autism, and he is atypical because he puts up certain behaviors that you wouldn't find in, his siblings, and he's a bit difficult to handle, and he needs special attention and all that.
Okay. So, Doctor, you mentioned certain areas. Now before this, we were talking before the interview, and you mentioned certain areas that we have to look at regarding children with special needs. One of them that you mentioned was motor, and then cognition, social, and I think two other ones. Emotional. Yes. So let's start with the motor.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so when we say motor development, we are talking about the way the child moves. So the way the child is moving their big muscles and the way the child is moving their small muscles. So for example, we know that when a baby is born, they usually are lying down. They cannot move much. They can't roll, they cannot sit. Even their neck is really, wobbly, and able to support. But after they start growing, you expect that by 3 or 4 months, once you can hold the baby and their neck is stable, they can hold up their own neck. You expect that by 6 to 8 months they are sitting. By 12 to 15 months they are walking. Then they start running, they are jumping. So that is motor. We have the movements of their hands. You know that as a baby they may not be able to pick anything. But by the time they are 6 months, they are reaching out and grabbing things. By 9 months, they are able to pick small things from the floor. And then by the time they are going to class 1, you expect that they hold a pencil. So these are all motors. So yes, there are some children who do not develop the way we expect in their motor development. They may not walk at the same time that we expect, or they start walking and their muscles are not coordinated as it's supposed to be. Same thing with their hands. We expect that maybe they can hold a toy and rattle it, or hold a pencil and write, and they are not able to do that at the point we expect them to do. So that is the motor development.
Okay. Mrs. Roseman-Chima, were there some of the things that you saw in the motor development of your child at that stage?
Yeah. So when he was growing up, I realized that at the time that he was supposed to walk, he was tiptoeing. I didn't know he had a problem because, you know boys. So I took it as he's a boy and he's energetic and so. But instead of walking, he would tiptoe. So that was one atypical behavior that I saw. And then you would want your child to write. I'm a teacher, and I start all my kids very early. But this one will not write. So at times I started working on how flexible his hands should be. I started working on it. I will get a bowl with sea sand in it so that he will work his fingers in it. And then I vary the textures. I use maize sometimes, I use gari. So I vary sometimes rice. And gradually, started with scissors, special scissors that he could, cut pieces of papers. All this, his fingers were not picking.
Yeah.
And then I also tried him just scribbling and painting, and it wasn't working. Now he's 11. He's now getting that skill of cutting. So right now, he's cutting almost everything in the house.
Ooh.
11 years, he's now gotten
Which means that you have
skill.
to give your child special attention all the time. Or
Exactly.
Something as well.
Exactly. He's cutting now bed sheets. When you pick your dress, you have to watch it well. Else, he's cutting. So from age 4, he's now gotten that skill of cutting.
Okay.
So you see how far we've come.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson, I hope you got what Mrs. Rosemont Achampo was saying.
I got the first part. My thing was muted just towards the latter part, but I got about he cutting everything now in the house.
That is the area I want you to comment. Because talking about the motor development, these are some of the signs that you see. From 4, the child couldn't do what he's doing at 11 now, which is part of the, atypical mannerism. Am I talking the language that I should talk? Oh, okay, all right.
Yes.
So I want you to comment on that, yes.
Okay, so before I comment on what Rosemont said, remember that these children we are saying have special needs. They are so varied. So a child may have little issues. A child may be extra good in motor but have language issues.
Okay.
So for what Rosemont is saying, sounds like this was more of fine motor. So fine motor is what we do with our fingers.
Okay.
What we do with the small muscles of our hands and the fingers. So her son was not able to do those things, but she did a wonderful job of trying to get him to exercise his fingers and his hands.
Because she's a good teacher, you know.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And she was saying all the things that an occupational therapist would have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure maybe at that time she didn't even know an occupational therapist.
Yeah.
So trying to get him to work his fingers through different textures, for him to realize what his fingers and his muscles can do,
Okay.
for his brain to register the different movements. So these things we are talking about, for a typically developing child, they just come naturally. You don't teach them. I told you that 9 months, they start picking small things. You see 1 year, they are picking ants and things, and picking peanuts and putting it in their noses and everything. It comes so naturally because the brain has been, coded to do that. But when you have an atypical development, then those things are not easy for you. So then you need help. So that is the special we are talking about.
Okay. All right. And then, sorry for the interruption, doctor. But she also talked about when she was supposed to, walk. She was the baby was tiptoeing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So tiptoeing, we would not put under motor challenges, but we would put under sensory. So her son has autism. I'm sure she'll tell us about autism a bit later on. But those are one of the signs we see. Early tiptoe walking.
Okay.
So when they start walking, some kids will tiptoe a little bit, then they settle down. But the way you feel under the soles of your feet, that is a sensory issue. And the children on the autism spectrum, sometimes they don't like their feet on grainy soil, they don't like their feet on the wet soil, so they start tiptoeing because it feels comfortable for them. That is a
Okay. Doctor, we'll come back to you, but for now we need to take a short break. We'll be back soon. Yes.
With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians. With the growing challenges of life in light of both global and domestic development, the Christian is faced with the difficult task of balancing survival within a secular system and at the same time living a Christian life that pleases their Maker. It is for this reason that we need to have frank conversations on the many issues of life through the Christian lens. So, we bring to you Let's Talk About. On Let's Talk About, we talk about health, career, dating, marriage, family, divorce, politics, finance, and all the issues of life that the Christian is confronted with on a daily basis. Join us this and every Wednesday on the YouTube and Facebook pages of Trinity United Church Legon, and let's talk about life as Christians.
Yeah, welcome back to Let's Talk About from Trinity United Church Legon. Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson is here with us virtually, but physically here also with us is Mrs. Rosemond Achampong. We're talking about children with special needs. Doctor, I say we need to, sometimes my equipment wants to come, but I'll try and control it. We'll speak more English. Yes, we need to step it up a little. From the motor development aspect, please tell us another, thing that we need to also look at.
Okay, I think since we've talked about motor, the next one would be language. I hope you can hear me well, though.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about language development. So when we talk about language or communication, then we mean the way a child expresses themselves and the way they understand what you're telling them. Okay. So this starts right from birth. When babies are born, that the mothers will tell you that a few weeks after, they know the cries are different. They know when it's a hungry cry, they know when it's a diaper change cry, a sleepy cry. So this is all part of language development. Then we go to when they start making their own baby talk and then we expect that by 12 months or 1 year, they start saying something. Mama, ball, dada, some single words. By the time they are 2 years, we expect that they have so many words and they are putting the words together and they are using the words to communicate. So communication means it's not just saying the words. So you can have children who then, I can say everything. We say they are labeling. They see ball, they say ball, water, chair. But if they want a ball, they can't say, give me ball. They can't say it to another person. So communication is using the words to another person to get something done, a request, a need, a social interaction. Okay, yeah. So we have language development where children are not developing typically. Either their words are delayed, their understanding is delayed, their communication, they are saying the words, but they are not, it's not functional, they are not using it properly. Or they are saying the words, but you can't hear it properly, or the words are all muddled up. So that's language development.
Okay.
And, okay, maybe let me start.
Yes. So let me just, find out if I can get exactly what you are saying. So these are indications
Yes.
that the child might be with a special need, not so.
Okay, so all what I've said so far, some are just normal, regular development.
Okay.
But if you are supposed to now be saying single words and you are not saying it, then it's an indication to us something is wrong.
Okay.
Or if you can say so many things and you can sing your rhymes, but you can't say mama water, it gives us an indication that something is
Good.
going
Good.
wrong.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted that point to be made clear because sometimes we are overly concerned when it doesn't, such things happen. So, but let me come back to Mrs. Rosemona Champon. Did you discover this in your child at that stage?
Yeah.
What doctor talked about?
Yeah. What my son started speech, he started requesting, he started mentioning, mommy, give me.
At what age?
Yeah. A very tender, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he had speech. And then approaching 3.5, he regressed. And then the regression got to a stage where, he started making noise rather. So instead of saying something, give me, now he'll be there and he'll be making So that was what made me, stood up. Because initially my mom suspected that something was not right, but I kept assuring her that I'm a teacher. We bring such situations to class, but with time they get better. So I wasn't really bothered. But when the speech regressed, that was when I got up to seek medical attention.
Doctor, I'll come to you very shortly. But Mrs. Achampong, so at which point in time did you realize that, this child really has a special need?
Yeah, when the speech regressed. Yeah, when
Because as a teacher,
yeah,
you realize most of the children you teach are not like that at that stage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 4 years without speech was a lot of concern to me. So I sought for medical attention. Now I was in denial. I was in denial. Now I was like, no, this cannot happen to me. Yeah, not my son. So when the speech regressed, that was when I decided to seek medical attention. And anywhere I go, yeah, it was the same thing. They diagnosed him with autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Legon Hospital, and I denied it. He was diagnosed, and I denied. And I went to Ghana, Canada. They also
Canada Hospital.
Yeah, hospital.
Okay.
That is Legon. Yeah, they also gave me the diagnosis, and So they all referred me to Kolebu,
Okay.
which I went.
All right. So, Dr. Mabel Wilson.
Yes.
Marilyn, I must add that one. Yes. Now let's go on a little from this point of. Are we still talking about motor development?
No,
we
we are
to
talking about language.
communication. Okay, language and communication.
Yes.
So, all right. We need to go forward a little from that. So, which other thing should we look out for in such a special needs child, apart from the two that we have talked about?
We also need to look out for their social and emotional development. So social development is, how does this child interact with other people? How does he interact with those he knows and those he does not know? How does he interact with his age mates, those who are older than him? Then the emotional development. How does this child regulate or maintain or express an emotion? So emotions are anger, frustration, happiness, sadness. What does this child do? And how easy is it for us to calm him down? And when he's showing the emotion, how does he share it with other people? So social and emotional development for me is very important, because as human beings, we are social beings. And if you take social emotional development away, and you can talk, you can walk, you are intelligent, and you do not have that development, you cannot live properly. You cannot function as you are supposed to function. So that is social and emotional development. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Hello? She can hear me now, so we should talk. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Marilyn, you are very sorry. We had certain technical hitches here, but we've resolved it. So please continue from where maybe we couldn't hear you.
Okay.
All right.
So I was talking about the social emotional development, that it is really important, and that the way a child interacts, the way a child regulates their emotions, is all integral to the way they can function in society. So if they can communicate, if they can walk, they can write, but they do not know how to regulate their anger or their happiness, or they cannot interact with other people, then it becomes, they will not be able to function. So social and emotional development is really important in a child.
All right. Mrs. Rosemont Champon, please tell us, doctor has just cited a few of the things that we should look out for. I believe some of the things happened in your child at that developmental stage. Yes. So if you could just outline one or two, so we'll see the real situation, as it was in your child.
Yeah. So let me take you back in the area of communication. Yeah. My son will want to make a speech, but then he doesn't really communicate. So he only come out and repeat whatever you say. So when you say Papa, he also say Papa, how are you? He will say, how are you? So in talking about communication, they don't really communicate well. Yeah. So that's about my son.
Oh.
Yeah. When it comes to social interactions, they are not able to socialize like typical kids would do. So they do their own repetitive behaviors in a corner somewhere. That is when it comes to autistic kids, kids with autism. Yeah, they have their repetitive behavior. They play alone. They don't want to play solitary play. They don't want to play with other kids. So they are always by themselves, and so you have to work to include them. Other than that, they are not ready to share toys. They don't have the patience. That's the emotional. They don't have the patience to take turns. Yeah, so throw a ball. Now it is somebody else's turn. They don't have that. They have to get it by all means. So that's about. So you hardly. When you take them out, it's very difficult to handle them in the midst of other kids. Yeah, because of the social issues.
Dr. Marilyn, I believe you heard Mrs. Rosemona Champong. So in
Yes.
that particular case, how do you manage it?
Okay, so in a child who is having difficulties interacting, you have to teach the child. So remember that these development things we've been talking about, they occur naturally. But the children who have atypical development, they need special care and special support. So, as parents, it means that if my child is not playing properly, then I have to give him more opportunities for play. And you remember Rosemond says that they may want to play by themselves. And if you leave that child to play by themselves, they'll stay by themselves. And then they continue to lag behind when it comes to how to play. And playing, when we grow up and we are adults, we've forgotten how play was so important. Playing for a child is the most important profession and function for a child, because that is how their minds develop and their brains develop. So for that child who wants to play by themselves, or they want to play and do the same thing over and over again, maybe they've seen a ball, they want to spin it, and all they want to do is spin it for 2 hours. They are spinning it. You, the parent, will have to try and get him to play with the other people, get into his world, and change the narrative for him. And even though it's difficult, it is possible, because we have children who initially don't want to play, and with engagement continue to bring them in and play with them. With therapy support, they learn how to play appropriately. You have children who there's a toy, you're supposed to push it, a toy car, and instead you turn it upside down and just be spinning the wheels or biting on it, and you teach him how to play with it. And by teaching him, his brain develops. That part of the brain that is closed off starts developing.
You mentioned therapy, so that brings to mind, do we have such therapists in the system, specialist people who could help the parents, or in this particular case, since the mother is very close to such a child, to help such mothers who manage such a situation? Do we have them around?
Yes, we do have them around. I'm sure in the past, maybe 10 years ago, we had very few in the system, but now we have more. It's not as much as we would hope, those of us in the field, but it's better than the past, and we continue to have. So we have speech therapists who can help your child to communicate. We have occupational therapists who can help your child to play, help your child to pay attention, help your child to write, help your child to know how to go to the bathroom and poo-poo and wee-wee and get out of diapers. We have behavior therapists who can help your child to
stop certain behaviors, okay? So I talked about repetitive behavior, doing the same thing over and over again, or maybe hitting or biting or banging their head when they are upset. We have behavior therapists who can help you. Then we have special education teachers who can teach your child to learn in the different way that the child is most comfortable with. So yes, all these therapists are available. They are not a lot, but they are available. Are they easy to access? Is that what you asked?
Yes, that's what I asked.
Okay. Relatively, fairly easy to access if you are in Accra or in the big cities. So Accra, Kumasi, Koforidua, Cape Coast, maybe in Ho sometimes. And there are a few therapists in Tamale. About 6 regions I know where there are therapists. Definitely Accra has the most therapists than the other regions.
Where
But
can which specific places can you access them?
Okay, so usually the teaching hospital.
Okay.
So in Accra like this, Kolebu will have therapists. Greater Accra Regional Hospital, 37, Lekma. So, I mean, they'll have, the big hospitals will have. And then, of course, they have private therapy centers. In Kumasi, Konfuanoche will have. In Tamale Teaching Hospital, Koforidua Regional Hospital, Ho. Yeah, so all the most of the regional hospitals in these 6 regions will have therapists.
Doctor, I'll go to Mrs. Rosemond Acheampong. Did you have to, when you discovered all these traits in your child, did you have to put the child? No, originally, when the child was put to school, what kind of school did you put
The child in?
Before diagnosis.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, before.
Yeah, in a regular school. Yeah, so I took him to a KG school.
A kindergarten
Yeah,
school.
a kindergarten school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at which point did you realize that no, but I have to change from this generalized kind of education to a specialized one? Is the child now in a specialized school?
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing homeschooling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Homeschooling meaning
but
that
he's been to a special school.
Okay.
Yeah, about 3 different schools. Yeah. And no, when he was diagnosed with autism, because before autism, at the KG, they were giving me complaints that he wouldn't sit, he wouldn't, and around 2.5, no, he wouldn't listen to anybody. He was hyperactive. If you are not careful, he can hurt somebody's child. So they only leave the child on the compound. And then he comes around when he's hungry. No, so one of the attendants confided in me and told me that it would be better if I look elsewhere. At that time, I was still in denial until he was diagnosed. So after the diagnosis, when I met with Dr. Bedu, one consultant at Kolebu, then he directed me to go and see one of the special centers, Antisewa ACT. Yeah, and for proximity, I came to Awawa too. Yeah, so
what is Awawa 2?
Awawa 2 is a special needs center, an autism early intervention center on the Hacho stretch, which was close to where I work. So that was my first special school.
And then before the interview, you did mention that the situation was such that you should have had a facilitator, which you actually, had, it came with a cost, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Anyway,
It did.
we'll continue from there, Doctor, and then after Mrs.
Rosemond Acheampong answers that question, I'll come back to you
and ask you a question.
But for now, we need to take a musical interlude. And okay, well, so you attend to that question that I asked you. It came with a cost.
Yeah, it came exactly. Yeah, so with the Awawa 2, you can't leave the child there, all by himself, and so sometimes they ask you to bring somebody, to help. in some of the schools. That's what they will ask. So then you need to get somebody who is trained and who understands the child and understands the child's situation and the new environment, and then you discuss how best that person will be able to help.
Okay.
So that is facilitation.
All right.
Yeah, and it comes with a fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see that to be affordable?
No, not at all.
Wow.
And nothing about it is affordable. Yeah, because the person will have to move from his house, so you have to pay that person's transportation, and then you have a cost every month, the person's pay for the month. And these days, facilitation, some people take as high as 800 to 1,000.
For a month?
Yeah.
Ooh. I see. Doctor, I need to get back to you. Yes, I need to get back to you. Mrs. Rosemond Achampo has talked about facilitation and the cost that goes with it and all that. Is there any interventionist approach towards this that can, bring down the cost? And yes, I really, really want to know.
Yeah, that's a very difficult question, because even though the child needs it and it's the right of the child to have it, at the moment the government hasn't subsidized those things for us. So when it comes to facilitation, be it in the public school or in the private school, the parents have to pay, and that's something that parents groups and those who work in the field are trying to see if there can be any funding, if it's an NGO that can help fund, if it is whatever. There are few NGOs these days, but I don't know of any who will give you money for facilitation.
Okay.
They may help you for free therapy, or may they help the mother who maybe has to stop work. So you can imagine if you don't have facilitation. I know a parent who can't afford facilitation, so she has to be the facilitator in the school. So if you then can't work, then somebody has to support you. That is if maybe your husband doesn't have enough for the whole family, or you have to get a job where you can facilitate but still be making money by the side. So there are few organizations who can support parents. There are not a lot in that regard. But no, there's nothing like government subsidizing facilitation at the moment.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we need to take a musical interlude, and then when we are back, we would ask first Doctor a question which is in my pocket. Now I'll release it after this. So just make time to listen to this musical interlude. We'll be back before you knew it.
Sabu sabu
that was lovely. That was Mrs. Vivian Newton Mensah, a member of the Trinity United Church Legon, and on the keyboard was Christian Idiama. Thanks so much, and thanks very much for sticking around with us. We are back. Questions and comments you can send to us via Facebook and YouTube. If you also want to do so by WhatsApp, the number is 0501 579 996. Again, 0501 579 996. Now let's get back to Rosemond, Mrs. Rosemond Achampong. What are the challenges that the person who cares for such a child go through? If you can mention a few of them to us.
Yeah, we've already made mention of facilitation. Yeah, so I will just move on to acceptance. Yeah, one big challenge is acceptance. How people will accept you right from your family members, your friends, your neighbors, how they will accept the situation in which you are, your church, no, the places you usually go to, the shopping centers, hospitals. You expect, when you enter any hospital, you expect a special needs child to be the first person to be processed through to leave the hospital. How many people understand this? So any parent with a special needs child will have to go through this normal routine. By the time you are done, you are exhausted. The child has picked infections from the hospital. So it's difficult. You only have doctors who understand you, like Dr. Mabel, not because she's here, but that is the heart she has for special needs kids. You know. And another one is, even with acceptance, even in the church, we have problems. Because you have a child with special needs, the child is throwing tantrums, and you are by yourself. Sometimes you even have young men around, and everybody is watching you. And you are playing your own game all by yourself. Nobody understands your situation. Nobody is ready to get closer to you, to even ask what is going on. So acceptance, when people accept you, then they will be able to help. If they don't know how to accept you, you know, helping becomes an issue. You go to church and you are seated in the church and ushers don't understand somebody who has brought a special needs child. Sometimes it's so embarrassing. These are some of the challenges we go through. When it comes to education, like we're talking about, even finding a good school that will accept your child is a problem. Sometimes you have to move and the boy is sacked. You move and they tell you, please, madam, we can't handle your child again. You have to look for another place. And so all these are challenges that parents go through. And then we also talk about inclusion. So sometimes you go to a special needs school, so and then it's like, now let's include the child in a regular school. And the regular school teachers are not ready for the child. It's you know, mind-blowing to hear that teachers don't understand special needs up to this stage. Some teachers they don't know how to handle kids with special needs. And some also don't want to, not because they can't handle that, but they don't want to because, like you said, the class size and facilities are not available. They don't have an accessible room. If you have a child with cerebral palsy, and the child will have to go on a ramp with, and the school doesn't have those access routes, it's challenging. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have a financial challenge. When it comes to, you were talking about challenges we go through, right? Yeah. So even the kind of food that they have to eat, they are not supposed to eat any food, so they eat organic foods.
What is organic food?
Organic food, so foods that are free from pesticides, from chemicals, because their system is already compromised. You know, they have gut issues already and you wouldn't want to add to it. So chicken, regular chicken that has been injected with vaccines and all that, some of them do react when they eat them. And the greens, you can't just buy greens from anywhere. Sometimes you don't even know where to go. And so you have to start growing your own. All these are challenges we go through.
Okay.
Yeah, when it comes to medical fees, diapers, some are as old as 16 years, 18 years still in diapers. And even with, when children are growing and you are in a hurry to, potty train them because you want to take them out of diaper and it's too costly. And you are still buying diaper for a child who is about 16 years, 18 years. See what they are going through.
Okay.
Transportation, you need to move these special needs children around. Sometimes with mine, in my own car, he slaps me from behind.
Ooh.
I get a slap on my face whilst driving. So if you don't have your own car, you stand by the roadside and he's kicking every car that is coming like football. So you have to hold him tightly. On the day I don't have a car and I have to stand by the roadside, every car that is coming, allow me to play a ball with the car. So you see what they go through. You sit in trotro and you just hook somebody's wig.
Oh.
So it's not easy. When it comes to supplements, because they lack certain, maybe Doc will talk about it.
Yes, after this we'll ask Doc to talk about
The
that.
supplements, buying, probiotic, prebiotic, calcium, fish oil, B12, getting them supplements to supplement what they already have in their system to be able to move on. All these come with a price. And then the diet, they can't just eat anything. So they do well on some of them on gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free diet. So you have to make sure that.
Rosemond, let's get doctor's input into this.
Thank you.
Doctor, your input into this aspect.
Okay.
It's very critical.
Yes. We're talking about challenges, right? Yeah. So as Rosemond has said, it's very challenging and tough for parents who have children with special needs. Right from what she talked about with so these children are already, some of them are hyperactive. We talked about the fact that the way they interact with the environment is different. So if they get to a place where it's crowded and they have to wait for a long time, they get so agitated. And when they get agitated, remember I talked about emotional regulation, how they regulate their emotion. If he's frustrated, maybe another child will say, "Mommy, I want to go home. Let's go." He can't tell you that. So he may start running around or start destroying the things that are around just to tell you that I'm not comfortable here. So if things like that, supports like that to either tell them, okay, you're coming to the hospital, come at this time. As soon as you come, we see you and then you go. Or if it is, we can't do booking system, then when you come, because we know that you have a child with special needs, everybody understands. We see you fast and you go. Those are things that I know will help children. I mean, now if you are going to do a passport or something, if you're an old person, they see you before everybody. So it's the same thing. If you have a special need, you should be able to be seen fast and you go. She was talking about foods and other things. Yes, so we talked that, I don't know where we talked about courses initially, but you remember we said that some of them are due to genetic differences.
Okay.
And the genetic differences, what changed them, we do not know at the moment. We are still researching and things are coming. Some research will say that, okay, we are modifying our grains and adding all sorts of things to it. We are doing, our fertilizer has all sorts of things inside and it's changing the food and it's changing us. We actually do not know. But once we know that this is a possibility, we advise that this child should eat healthily. So eat like the way our grandmothers used to do. I mean, fresh from the soil, no processed food, not these pizzas and sausages and things that they've added all sorts of chemicals and we do not know. We are not saying that that is what is causing the issue. Okay. But since we do not know, you want to give them the best chance possible. And the other thing is that sometimes they may be reacting to certain foods. Another child will tell you, Mommy, when I drink Milo, my tummy hurts. But this child who can't communicate, when you give him the Milo, all he does will be pulling your hair and turning down because he's uncomfortable. And so we realize that for some of them, if they are eating the right food that their body needs, these other behaviors get better and they calm down. Once they calm down, then the therapist can do their work and help support them to where they are supposed to be.
Doctor, I'll come back to you on sensitization of the general public towards issues with children with special needs. But before, there's a question by Gifty Ayoka. Can we begin to see interventions such as therapies as God's way of healing us?
Yes, why not? In the olden 1944, when we didn't even know about autism, when it started coming out in 1944, there were all sorts of theories. Then autism and other special needs, we just put all of them in an institution and locked them up. That's what was happening in the 1944.
Oh, really?
And yes, and now with God's help and research, we realize that no, you don't need to lock them up. You need to do certain things to help them, and you can support some of the children such that they are functional. There are special needs children who start out, who are able to hold a job, who are able to communicate, who are able to do something. Yes, not all of them, but some are able to do it. So yes, I agree with you that it is God's way of helping us to know what we are supposed to do. Maybe in the future, He will also teach us something we'll do that can just, take everything away. We haven't gotten there yet, but He can do all things.
There's another question from Nanoye Nete. Doctor, please, is autism hereditary?
Wow, that's a difficult question. So no, it is not hereditary. So the layman's understanding of hereditary means that I have it and so I give it to my child. Okay, in that sense, it's not hereditary, but it is multi-genetic in the sense that we pass on our genes to our children. So assuming this change in gene I've talked about has started in my great-grandmother, and it's then passed on to grandmother, and then comes on to the parents and comes on to me. And that is what caused this in this child. Then it has been passed on, but not directly inherited, because the changes may be different in my great-grandmother compared to the child. I don't know whether I've explained it properly.
You have.
Yes, okay.
But
yes,
go on.
Definitely, we see that when you have a child, if you take a group of children with autism, you are more likely to see the features in their family compared to a group of children who do not have autism. And that's why we know it is genes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Marilyn, there is yet another question from Vida Kwaponekufu. What other conditions besides autism can we classify as special needs? I have encountered children who are super hyperactive and disruptive almost constantly.
Yeah.
Would we call that special needs?
Okay, so the definition of special needs are children who need special care. So because Rosemond has a child with autism, it looks like we've concentrated on autism.
Okay.
Now, any child who needs special care. So children with cerebral palsy, children with delayed language, children with ADHD. So an ADHD child, so a child with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, will be a child who is very hyperactive, cannot concentrate, impulsive, can't think through consequences, forgetful, can disrupt the class, disorganized. That child may not have any physical impairments, can talk more than anybody, but still needs special attention because they can't sit still. So that is under the same classification. A child who has Down syndrome, who may be the most social, opposite of what we'll see in autism, but still will have maybe fine motor, the writing delays, whose communication or expression is delayed, whose learning may be delayed, they will also need special needs. So special needs really cuts across a lot. And let me add, maybe a child who is coming from a very poor home, and because of that, maybe they sell on the streets and then they have to go to school. By the time they get to school, they are so tired or they are malnourished, and so they cannot learn. That child may not have any physical impairments, but that child also needs special needs. They are all under special needs.
Okay. All right. There's yet another question by Gifty Ayoka. Can our Sunday school teachers be empowered to detect autism early, or would we rather encourage parents to wait and see, expecting divine healing?
Gifty. I know Gifty.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I think Sunday school teachers, and not only Sunday school teachers, and preschool teachers, and regular education teachers, and pastors, and everybody can be empowered to see the signs of autism or special needs, and encourage the parents that, oh, this thing, I can see that the development is not typical. You have to seek help. Whilst we are, the prayer warriors are also praying for you for divine intervention, you also need to seek help. I think we need to do both.
Now, our minister in charge, Trinity United Church Legon, is on here with a comment, Marilyn. We must see these children as a gift of God to us, and we cannot complain but thank Him and ask for grace to nurture them. Thanks, Dr. Sister Rosie and Brother Ben. I hope I'm the one being referred to. Anyway, it's a comment, so we'll just... Now,
yes.
Doctor, let me get back to you. What are you doctors in this particular field doing about sensitizing us all, educating us? So when we come across our children, we will not be overly concerned. We would really, have them at heart. But before that, before you answer that one, Margaret Kokwe has a question. So please,
okay.
Marilyn, listen. It's a good evening, please. I have a 6-year-old son who is just not interested in writing in school. He can talk and answer all questions, but very lazy with writing. What do you have to say?
Yeah, so I think Rosemont talked about writing and some of the things that you can do. And today I said this to one of my clients, that writing is boring. I mean, you have a white sheet of paper with this black thing, and you're supposed to make squiggly lines in it. I mean, for a child, think about a child's brain. They may think, what am I going to use this thing for? Why is it important? It's not interesting to me. So for a child who doesn't like writing, we start with what we call pre-writing skills.
Pre-writing skills?
Yes,
okay.
Pre-writing skills. You want to, the whole point of writing is that you want them to read and be able to read the spoken word, right? The written word. So you want their brains to understand what A looks like and how you can write it and how it sounds like, so that they can read later. So how about starting with things like clay or Play-Doh or something with sparkles or some buttons that we can form A with. If he can form A with a button and he can form that A and say it is A, that is 95% of the work done. Then when one day you've done all the things that Rosemont talked about with your gari and all those things, and now he can hold the pencil. He knows the A in his head already, so he will just write it. So pre-writing skills are very important. Usually the occupational therapists are the ones who help such children.
Okay. This is a comment by Hilda Prempe. She starts off by saying, a very expensive venture, but early intervention is a major key for improvement. God has been good, but waiting for speech. Now, let me get back to you again, Doctor. We'll come back to Mrs. Achampon later on. But before that, there was another comment from Joyce Ifuejipon. Thank you, Sister Rosemont and Doctor, for educating us on this topic. Brother Ben, I believe it's me. God bless you. Yes. So, Doctor, I asked you one question. What are you doctors in this special field doing to sensitize us who do not know about all these things, educating us? So when we come across our children, we would accept them with some level of sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
What are you doing
yeah.
about education?
Yes. So we are trying. We are trying to educate the public. So what we are doing today is an example of education and advocacy for the public. We go on to TV stations, we go on radios and radio shows, we go to churches, we go to schools to educate. And not only the doctors, but the therapists are also doing it. There are some organizations for therapists who always have a program of some sort trying to educate.
Okay.
And then we are hoping the church will also help us so that we can educate. You know, when things come from the church, people believe it's better than when it comes from us.
And let me just inform you that at a point in time, Mrs. Rosemond Acheampong, you know, educated us in Trinity United Church, Legon here about...
Excellent.
Yes. And so she's done so well, and I must congratulate her immensely for what she did the other time. There's yet another question by Gifty Ayoka, who you know. It says, let's empower the earliest contact of children, and that is community health nurses, early years teachers, Sunday school teachers, nannies, etc. The same way churches hold health checks for its members. Can we also bring speech therapists and pediatricians to occasionally screen children for developmental delays, doctor?
Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea, because that brings the question of early intervention. So early intervention is so important, which means that the earlier you establish that this is an issue, and the early you start the intervention, the better the prognosis. So if a diagnosis is made at 6 compared to 2, there's a huge difference to what the brain can manage to do if you start your intervention at 2 compared to 6 or compared to 7. So yes, as early as we can get everybody involved to help us to screen and to identify, the better.
It looks like this topic is very interesting. And yet another person called Patricia Essel, she's a member of Trinity United Church, Legon, has a comment. I appreciate you sharing, Dr. Andrew Rosemond. I am learning a lot today. The onus lies on us to be more supportive, especially in the church setting. No need to look down on them, but rather get to understand their behaviors better and support them through it. Doctor, what do you think?
Yes, I think that is an excellent idea. I have lots of parents who don't go to church anymore because of their children. And where else should we accept everybody but the church? So definitely, I think the church should get involved and accept. And just to comment on what the pastor from Trinity said,
yes,
I also believe that children with special needs definitely are a gift from God. I mean, if you have a special needs child or you work with special needs, agape love or unconditional love makes a whole new meaning to you. And what is our role on earth? That we should what? Love God with all our hearts and minds, and love our neighbors as ourselves. So if your mission is to then love your neighbor as yourself, and this child is your neighbor, then accepting and loving them unconditionally, I think, is God's way of teaching us to become more like Christ.
Okay. Yes. Rosemond has something to share with us.
I think with the area of the church, when it comes to churches coming in to help, Trinity United Church has done so well, not because I'm a member, but when my case came on, I created awareness in my church because I have been fellowshipping here since '79. I can't go anywhere. So I had to let the church understand my condition to be able to continue to fellowship here. So I created awareness here. I created it for the second time. I spoke to Sunday school teachers. I trained Sunday school kids to understand these kids so that creating such an environment will help you to be able to bring your child to church. The church, I also suggested that some parents are not able to go to church. So we should create a center or a space for them, so that when they come in, they will have a comfortable place. Their parents will also be able to go to church, fellowship 2 hours, and come for their kids. When they took it to council, the church accepted and set up a beautiful room. Yeah, but because of COVID and other issues, we haven't been able to, operate for,
Oh, that's
some
wonderful.
time. Yeah, but a very beautiful room. I'll show you the pictures.
Okay.
That people brought their kids, and we had very nice fellowship. Yeah.
Okay, Doctor, if you are still there, we'll look at
Yes.
the pictures. Let's be looking at the pictures while Doctor answers a question by Margaret Kokwe. Please, what could be the cause of a child who doesn't enjoy writing, Doctor?
This writing again.
Yeah.
So writing is a fine motor development. So all the developments we've talked about, the motor, the language, and everything, are all in certain areas of the brain. So if your child has fine motor issues, so maybe the muscles in their in their hands do not have enough strength, or they have concentration issues. I told you writing is boring, so when they're writing, you have to concentrate, but they cannot focus. These can all be issues. So changes or differences in the way your child's fine motor development is happening can cause writing difficulties.
Good. There's a comment by Hilda Prempe. A very expensive venture, but early intervention is a major key for improvement. God has been good by waiting for speech. Doctor, did you see the pictures?
Yes,
Okay.
beautiful, very lovely.
No, any comments from you?
Oh, I would say that those who are not able to go to their church should come to Trinity so that their children,
Thank you so much.
their children can benefit from this.
Good.
I think it's really
Good.
lovely. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you can see Mrs. Rosemond Achamponi there. Yeah, here she is again. She's seated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's your child in the orange and black shirt. Yeah, Papa. Yes.
Yeah.
And all this is happening at Trinity United Church. Have you come back after the COVID? When are you coming back?
Too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we need to train more people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now we just about rounding up, Doctor.
Yeah, but can
Yeah.
I-
So, but,
can I-
but
yeah.
before you and Mrs. Champon would say something.
Yeah, I want to give this message to churches in general, that I think our attention should also be focused on families with special needs.
Okay.
So all churches, this goes out to you. Look out for your members who have special needs. Yeah, families with special needs kids. And attend to them, because they are going through a lot of challenges that you have no idea. Get closer to them. Sometimes counseling, sometimes praying with them, assuring them.
Financial support.
Financial support, yeah, is possible. When you have a child with special needs, regular children go to church. This church, we have scholarship. Students come for scholarship, and by 3 years, they are done. They get their certificate. When you have a child with special needs, it is, if I don't say for life, it's for a long period of time. And nobody will want to give scholarship for that. And for how long can parents be begging all the time for support? So churches in general, yeah, please get closer, because they need your help. Get them grants or whatever we call it. Train people to assist them when they come to church. Train more Sunday school teachers who will assist at the special needs centers. If not, when they come to church, somebody who can handle them for just 30 minutes, so that a mother or a father can sit and also enjoy service. Yeah.
Dr. Marilyn,
Yes.
your final comment.
Yeah. So I would say that, as Rosemond has said, having a child with special need is very challenging. When we do not know about something, sometimes we stigmatize. So I pray that at least those of us here, would spread the word and let people know that children and families with special needs need acceptance. They are just like anybody else. They need to be loved, they need to be cared for. I'll say that parents, you have been given special vessels, and God, who has given it to you, will strengthen you, and your community are encouraged to also support and encourage you. You as parents, take care of yourself. Get counseling if you need it. Get some relaxation time. If you can have a family member take your child for some respite, so that you are fully able, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to take care of your child. Thank you.
You're very much welcome, Doctor. Yes. Do you have some?
Yeah, with autism,
Yeah.
we want to look at some signs to look out for.
Okay.
So for parents who still have young kids, yeah, we need to, because early intervention, like doctor said, is key.
Okay.
So these children usually won't play with other kids. They tiptoe, some of them, when walking. And some children do not cry. No matter what you do, they won't cry. My son was like that. The first day I saw my son cry was my happiest day. Yeah. And some develop speech, others don't. So when we talk about autism, it's a spectrum disorder. Yeah, so you have some that are verbal, some are non-verbal, some are extremely hyperactive, some are, very quiet and could sit at one place for a long time. Yeah, and some are very difficult to toilet train, and some have sensory issues. They won't chew, they won't allow brushing of today. They can't stand high sounds, so they hold their ears when they come to church and the sounds are so high. They can't stand bright lights. Yeah, they will react. They remove their clothes because of the texture of some clothes. Fabrics, sometimes their shoes are not that comfortable, so you see them removing and you wouldn't understand them. Yeah, but they go through a lot. So they have repetitive behaviors like flapping, spinning, swinging, making noise, squinting their eyes, So they do repetitive behavior. These are some signs parents should look out for. They can't say mommy, daddy, at the age they are supposed to. No hugs. If you want to hug them, they turn away. Yeah. And then they have difficulty in entering into their zone. So when you are getting closer, you see them, getting away from you. So if you are handling a child with special needs, especially autism, when you want to talk to them, you should not get closer to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So these are
Thank
some
you so
of
much.
the things to
Thank you
look
so
out
much,
for.
Mrs. Rosemont.
Yeah, doctor, I think I did well.
You did very well.
Thank you.
Thank you both, Mrs. Rosemont Achampong and Dr. Marilyn Mabel Wilson, for sharing with us. From today, those of us who have listened, we should be very sympathetic and empathic towards our children and the parents who take care of them. If you can't do anything at all, pray for such parents. They need prayer more than anything. When you come across our children, don't begin to point fingers. Hey, mommy, wait. No, please. Well, that's all for today. Next week, Wednesday, we'll be here to talk about yet another topic. It's being Let's Talk About from Trinity United Church, Legon. Do have a lovely night. Bye.